Welcome to Quisitive Unite session on building your first Power BI report. My name is Richard Ramarine, Senior Consultant at Quisitive, and I'll be your presenter for this session. We will begin this presentation with an introduction to Power BI. We will then look at some of the reasons for data visualization. Following that, I'll walk you through the process of downloading and installing Power BI Desktop. We will go through the features of the Power BI Desktop interface, followed by how to connect to data and how to apply transformation to our data, preparing it for reporting. Next, we will jump into the creation of our first visualization, adding interactive features and custom calculated fields. Finally, we will see how to publish our report to the Power BI workspace and share it with our end users. So what is Power BI? Power BI is a collection of software services, apps, and connectors that work together to turn your unrelated sources of data into coherent, visually immersive, and interactive insights. There are a number of applications or parts that fall under the umbrella of Power BI, each performing a specific function. At the core is Power BI Desktop, a free desktop application used to create our reports and dashboards. We use the Power BI Desktop to connect to our data, transform or clean and prepare our data for reporting, and finally to create our visualizations and reports. Next, we have the Power BI Service or Power BI Online, which is a cloud-based service where we publish and share our reports with our end users. We also have the Power BI mobile app, which is an application available for iOS, Android, and Windows devices that allows our users to access their Power BI reports and dashboards on the go. Another part of the Power BI ecosystem is the Power BI Gateway. This is a bridge that facilitates secure data transfer between on-premise data sources and the Power BI service in the cloud. This is used mainly in instances where we have reports published to the Power BI service that access data from sources that exist on our local on-premise network, for example, SQL Server databases. There's also the Power BI Report Server, which is an on-premise server that allows organizations to host and manage their Power BI reports. We have Power BI Embedded, which is a service that allows developers to embed Power BI reports and dashboards into custom applications, websites, and portals. And finally, we have Power BI Premium, which is a licensing option that provides dedicated capacity for organizations with large-scale Power BI deployments. There are a number of business intelligence and analytics tools available today. So why choose Power BI? As can be seen in the popular Gartner Magic Quadrant for Business Intelligence and Analytics Platforms report, as at 2023, Microsoft and Power BI stood out as clear leaders, and this has been so for years. Also, being part of the Microsoft ecosystem, Power BI inherently integrates with other popular and ubiquitous applications such as SharePoint, Dynamics 365 CRM, and Dynamics 365 Business Central, to name a few. This enables us to embed reports and dashboards created via Power BI directly into these applications, eliminating the need for end users to leave the application that they work in most of the time to view their reports. Another question you may be asking is, why is there a need for data visualization? Firstly, data visualization helps us to easily understand complex data through identification of patterns, trends, and relationships within that data. It helps us to communicate better. Charts and graphs makes it easier to convey information in a manner that is easily understood by our target audience. Data visualization also helps in identifying errors in our data, exceptional cases or outliers, or even provide insight that can lead to new discoveries. Visualizations make it super easy to keep a close eye on KPIs and critical metrics, as well as aids in forecasting and predictive analytics. Our analysts can look at the historical data trends to make informed predictions about future outcomes and trends. We will now move on to the practical component of the presentation. In this session, we will develop the report on the screen. This report shows information on electric vehicle population over time and is based on a dataset I downloaded from data.gov. If you wish to follow along, you can download the dataset by going to data.gov, selecting Most Viewed Dataset, and clicking on the CSV option to download and save a copy to your PC. Now that we have the data source we'll be using to create our report downloaded and stored on our local machine, we'll move to installation of the Power BI desktop application. This applies to folks that don't have it downloaded already. There are two easy ways to install Power BI desktop. The first is via the Microsoft Store and the second via the Microsoft Power BI downloads page. Let's go through installing via the Microsoft Store. So we'll firstly launch the Microsoft Store from our PC. We will search Power BI. When the search is completed, we'll see the Power BI application. We'll click on that and we will be presented with the option to install the application if it's not installed already. In my case, it's already installed, so I have the option to open or to update to apply recent features that has been pushed by Microsoft since I did my installation. The other way to install Power BI Desktop is by going to the Power BI downloads page. Navigate to powerbi.microsoft.com/enus/downloads and click on the download link to download the installed files. Once you've downloaded it to your local machine, you can double click or right click and click install, follow the wizard and complete the installation. Once you've completed installing Power BI Desktop, you can launch it by clicking on the Power BI icon if you download it via the page, or by clicking on Open via if you install via the Microsoft Store. When you open Power BI Desktop application for the first time, you may be prompted to log in via your Microsoft Work or School account if you are not already signed in. Select the account that you wish to sign in as and enter the username and password if prompted. Once you have successfully signed in, click on the blank report option to take you to the main report authoring canvas. Let's take a look at the Power BI desktop interface. At the top of the screen, you will see the action ribbon that is customary with all Microsoft applications. To the middle of the screen, we have icons that allow us to connect to typical data sources such as Excel, SQL Server. We also have the option to enter data from spreadsheets via copy and paste, as well as the option to use sample data available within Power BI. To the far right, we have the pane manager with options for data, build, and formatting. Clicking Data opens the Data pane showing the datasets that we imported. Clicking Build opens the Build pane showing the different types of charts and graphs we can use to create our report. Clicking on Format opens the Formatting pane with formatting options that we can apply to our visualizations. To the far left, we have four views. The first being the report view, which is where we will be doing most of our work. This is the main canvas that has all visualizations that we add to our report. The second is the table view, which provides a preview of our data in a tabular format similar to an Excel spreadsheet. The third is the model view, which is used to model our data and define relationships between our different datasets. The fourth is a new feature recently added that allows you to create and test data analysis expressions or DAX scripts. Use of DAX expressions is at the intermediate to advanced level and beyond the scope of this session today. To the bottom left of the screen, we have the Page tab similar to the Excel sheets. We can add multiple pages to our report by clicking on the plus icon. To the left of Pages, we have the desktop and mobile preview icon. These allow us to preview how our reports will render on either device type. We will now begin the process of creating our report. Let's head over to Power BI Desktop. Our first step is to import the data that is stored in a CSV file on our local machine. To import the data, we'll click on Get Data, select text/CSV, navigate to the location the file is stored, select the file, and click Open. Power BI will import the data and prompt us to either load or transform the data. There are a number of transformations I want to apply to the dataset before I start creating my visualizations. So I'll select the Transform Data option to open the Power Query Editor. The Power Query Editor provides a tabular view of my data along with a number of transformations that could be applied to the data. I can apply these transformations by clicking on the column and selecting the transformation I want to apply from the transformation ribbon. Alternatively, I can right-click on the column I wish to apply the transformation to and select the transformation from the drop-down list. Looking at my data, there are two transformations I'd like to make. One is to rename the first column to state simply VIN, and the second to extract the latitude and longitude coordinates as separate columns from the vehicle location field. To rename the column, I'll simply right-click, rename, and remove everything from after the N in the column name. For the vehicle location column, I'll firstly duplicate the column by right-clicking and select Duplicate Column since I want to apply the transformation while maintaining the column in its original format. My next step is to extract the latitude and longitude from this text field. So I'll firstly remove the point space parenthesis by right-clicking, select Replace Value, replace point, space, open parentheses with blank, click OK. It was removed. I want to do the same thing for the close parentheses. So I'll right-click, replace value, close parentheses, and blank. Right, all good. My next step is to split the value into two separate columns. I notice that these values are separated by a space. So I'll right-click, I'll select Split by delimiter, choose my delimiter as space, leftmost delimiter, and say OK. Both the column was split into separate latitude and longitude location values. So I'll now right-click and rename the field latitude, and the second field longitude. I'm now completed with my transformation, so I'll click Close and Apply. Back in Power BI Report View, I can view the data I just loaded by clicking on the data icon and expanding the data set. All looks good here, except the latitude and longitude column are categorized as normal text fields. Power BI has a specific categorization for both latitude and longitude. To recategorize them, I'll simply click on the field, go to Column Tools, and select Latitude for latitude. Ensure that the summarization stays the Don't Summarize. I'll do the same for longitude. Click on longitude, don't summarize, longitude, and all looks good. The icon changed to those that denote latitude and longitude versus an integer or text field. The first visualization I want to add to my report is the map visualization. Moving back to Power BI Desktop, I can achieve this by clicking the map icon from the ribbon. It will add the map to the canvas. I will select the location being latitude and longitude. And that's it. The map is added. I will now position it to where I want it on the page. I also want to remove the latitude title from the map visualization. I can achieve this by clicking on the map to select it, clicking on the Format pane, and unchecking Title. The title is now removed. The second visualization I want to add to the canvas is a line chart showing the vehicle trend over years. To do this, I'll click on Line Chart to add the chart to the canvas. For the X-axis, I'll select Model Year. For the Y-axis, I'll select the VIN, and I want to get a distinct count of the VIN. So I'll click the right arrow, select Count, Distinct Count, and there we have it, my line chart. I'll position it to where I want on the canvas. As you can see, Power BI gives us these snap grid lines. I also want to change the title to say Vehicle Trend Line. So to do that, I'll click on select the chart. I'll click on the Format pane. For the title, I'll expand the title. I'll say New EV Trend. I want to change the font type as well. So I'll change it to Arial. I'll set it to 10, and I'll give it a text color of, let's say, blue. I want to change the background as well to, let's say, a light gray. Looks good. I want to position it in the center as well. Make it bold. I also want to remove these titles from the X and Y columns. So I'll collapse title, expand X, uncheck title, expand Y, uncheck title. All good? And that's it. The third visualization I'm going to add to my canvas is a donut chart showing the breakdown of most electronic vehicles by make. To do this, I'll first click on the open canvas to unselect any of the other visualizations. If I was to have, let's say, the line chart selected and click on my donut chart, it will convert the line chart to a donut chart. Let's undo this. Instead, I need to click onto the open canvas to unselect the existing visualization and then click on the donut chart to add it to my visualization. I'll drag it here. Then I'll start adding my data points to the visualization. In the values column, I'm going to add the distinct count of VIN numbers. So count, I'll change it to distinct count. And then under the details column, I'm going to add the vehicle make. That's it, my donut chart is created. I'll rename it EVs by. So click on the visualization, expand title, call it EV by make. I also want to format this title in a similar manner to my line chart. So to do that, I'll click on the line chart, click Format Painter, and then click on my donut chart to apply the formatting. Next, we'll add a bar chart showing EVs by type. So to do that, I'll click on my bar chart from the ribbon, resize accordingly. For the data on the X-axis, I want to select motor vehicle type, electronic vehicle type, sorry. And on the Y-axis, again, we want a distinct count of the number of vehicles. The VIN. So distinct count. Again, I'll rename this visualization by going to the formatting pane Let's say EVs by type will format it similar to the line graph to be consistent with the other charts. I also want to show the value on the for each bar. So click on the chart on the formatting pane. I'll turn data labels on. It shows in thousands. I want to see the actual values. So I'll expand. We'll go to value. We'll go to display units and say none. The fifth visualization on my report will be a pie chart showing the breakdown by clean alternative fuel vehicle eligibility. To start, I'll click on the open canvas, select the pie chart. On the values, I'll select again VIN, the distinct count of VIN, and for the details, I'll select clean alternative fuel vehicle eligibility. I'll expand this. I'll change the title again. So click on the visualization, go to formatting pane, title, EV5CAF, and again format the name similar to my existing reports. The final visualization I'd like to add to my report is a table showing vehicle year, the number of vehicles for that year, a running total of the vehicles over the years, and a year-on-year change in the number of electronic vehicles. We can add the model year and the number of vehicles for each year based on data that we have in our data set already. However, for the running totals and the year-on-year change, we need to add two calculated fields. The running totals calculated field could be created based on the existing VIN and model year fields we have in our dataset. However, the year-over-year change requires a date field. Currently, there are no date fields in our existing dataset. Hence, we'll need to engineer one. The part of the date field that will be used in the year-over-year calculation is the year. For this, we can use the model year field that exists in the dataset at present. For the month and day in our engineered date field, we'll use the values 01 and 01. The date field will be created via the Power Query editor. To get to the Power Query editor, I will right-click the dataset name, select Edit Query. This will bring up the Power Query editor. Let's give it a minute to load. I would go on Add Columns. I'll say Custom Column. I'll give it a name. Let's call it Date. And I would add the mQuery formula to create a date, which is date found date. And for the year part, I'll add the model year, comma, for the month 01 and for the day 01. All looks good, no syntax errors. I'll click OK. The date column was added to our dataset. However, we noticed that it is of type, it's an alphanumeric type. To convert it to a date type, I'll right click, say change type, and select date. We now see the calendar icon indicating that it is a date field. I'll go to home, close and apply. Back in the Power BI report view, we can see our date field has been added to our dataset. We'll now proceed with creating the running totals and year-on-year change calculated fields. To do so, we'll click on Quick Measure. We'll select Running Totals as the measure. We'll select Distinct Count of VIN. We'll select Data Year, Date Year, and we'll say Add. We'll rename the field. Rename New EV, or we'll call it Cumulative. That has been added to our data set. We'll now click on Quick Measure again to create the year-on-year change field. So we'll select the drop down, we'll say Time Intelligence, year-over-year change. Again, count the distinct count of VIN, and for the date field, we'll select again the date and the year. Well, this one expects a date field, so the entire date. So we'll say Add, and our field was added. We can rename it year over year percent. We'll then proceed to add our visualization, our table visualization to the canvas. So we'll click on a blank area in the canvas, select the table visualization. We'll select the year from the date hierarchy. We'll select the count distinct or VIN. So VIN, we'll change it to count distinct. We'll add the new year cumulative by dragging and dropping onto the canvas. So we see that we're getting the running totals and the new year EV, year over year change. And this shows us the percentage change. We can rename the count VIN field to say new EVs. So to do so, I'll right click here, select rename visual, and say new or number new EV. I can remove the totals from here as well by clicking on the formatting pane. Totals, values removed, so that has been removed. And I can also update the column headers by clicking on column headers to keep it consistent with the others. I believe it was Arial. We can say bold. We can say the background color is the gray, the text color the blue, and we can set it to center as well. If I were to adjust the column size, you'll see it will automatically wrap. And that's it for our visualizations we want to create. What I want to do now is add a slicer to the report. So to do so, again, we'll click on a blank area to unselect any of the existing visualizations. I'll click on the slicer icon. I will bring in add the year field, the model year field. And our size slicer was created. We can use the slider to adjust the year, and it will filter the entire report. So you see all visualizations were affected. We can also change, let's say we just want to get the last 10 years, so 2014. You can also change the date there. Let's now add some customization to the slicer icon to make the appearance better. So the first thing I want to do, I'll reposition it a bit. I will adjust the height. I'll then go to the formatting pane, expand size and style, background. We'll change the color to, let's say, this. Will increase the transparency so it blends in with the background really. We could adjust the values, so I'll collapse this. I'll expand values. Let's change it to, let's say, we want it bold and make it 10. Looks good. And now you can adjust the slicer to uh, anything that is aesthetically pleasing to you. So, in a nutshell, that's it. We created the report. We added our visualization study report. We added a slicer. Uh, we'll also we can also adjust the interactivity within the report. If you notice, if I click on a particular data point within the report, let's say 2024, the report automatically filters down. Sorry, that took a bit. It all automatically filters down to show the solid highlighted portion shows only those records that were for that year. And you see the figures were adjusted as well. Click on it again and it will unfilter. Now there are two ways we can do filtering, cross filtering in the report. Let's say instead of just seeing the unhighlighted, having the portion that is applicable to 2024 highlighted, I want to filter down the report to show only 2024. I can achieve this by selecting the visualization that I want to use as for the cross filter. I can go to format. I can select edit interactions. If you notice, there's this little control that appeared on each of the visualization. Uh, the control that is active now is the this filter, this cross filtering. If I want to filter down the report, I'll click on the filter down, and if I click on this, you'll notice that for this visualization, it actually filters down as opposed to, let's say I go back here and I click the cross filter, it just highlights the area or the records that are applicable. Another interactivity within the report is you can see sorting. So from this table, it's currently sorted by number of new EVs. If I want to sort by year, simply click on the year field. You'll notice that it is sorted in ascending. If I want it sorted in descending as well, just single click on the field again. All right, so now that our report is fully created, we're ready to publish it to the Power BI workspace. Our first step, firstly, let me take off the edit interactions. So I'll uncheck this. So you'll notice that the control, it went away. I'll save the report. So file, save as, and I'll save it to my machine. So where do I want to save it? Let's say browse this device. I'm already logged in, but it asked me to sign in again. So I'll sign in with another account. I'll sign in with my CRG account, my Quisitive account, sorry. Right, I'll give the name, Quisitive Unit Demo Report. Let's say V2. right? So the report is saved. W- Notice that the report name changed here. And now I can go back to the home tab, click the publish icon. Notice I'm already signed into the Power BI service. So I can go ahead and publish the report. Click publish, select the workspace. So we can publish it to an existing workspace. This would have been set up by someone with administrator access, or we can save it to my workspace. I'll save it to my workspace, select, and the report will begin publishing to the workspace. Once the report is completed publishing, we can navigate to the workspace directly from this link here. Again, give it a minute to initialize. The report has been fully loaded in the Power BI service. As can be seen, we have the same interactivity as in the Power BI desktop application. We can adjust the date filters and stuff like that, and the report will be adjusted accordingly. We can now proceed to share this report with our colleagues, members from our organization. So we'll do that by clicking on share, add the person, look for the person within our organization, add their name, and click on send. We can also add a message inviting them to view the report. And basically, that's it for the presentation. So, to recap, today we had an introduction to Power BI. We saw the parts that make up the Power BI offering from Microsoft. We looked at a few reasons why we should visualize our data. We saw how to go about downloading and installing Power BI desktop. We built our first report. We connected to an Excel, a CSV data file. We did a bit of transformation. We added a few visualizations to the table. We added some interactive features in terms of the slicer. And we also saw how to use the cross filtering and the sorting that is built into Power BI. We added two custom calculated fields in the form of quick measures, and we published our report and saw how to share it with our users. That brings us to the end of our Q-Night session on building your first Power BI report. If you need any assistance along your Power BI journey, feel free to contact us via the contact information on the screen. My name is Richard Ramnarain, and thank you for joining me today. Have a great day, all.